This video is about Strum, a piece of music for string quartet composed in 2006. The composer who wrote it is called Jessie Montgomery. Jessie is from America and often writes music that combines both classical and more modern, everyday styles of music. Your piece could be inspired by Strum in lots of ways. For example, you might be inspired by the way the composer combines elements of classical and more modern music. Or you might be inspired by some of the music, for example, a particular melody, rhythm, or chord progression, and use snippets of those in new and interesting ways. You might be inspired by some of the ways Jessie asks the musicians to play their instruments and create new music using these same techniques. Strum is a one-movement piece just under 7 minutes long. Let's have a listen to an extract. How does this music make you feel? What do you think of when you listen to it? To me, the music makes me want to move. It's really upbeat, lively and energetic music. The fast rhythms sound like a guitar strumming along to people dancing. Jessie Montgomery said that the piece is partly inspired by characteristics of American folk music and the spirit of dance and movement. Maybe your piece could be inspired by characteristics of other folk traditions or music for dance. For example, how could you create the feeling of a ceilidh dance using the instruments in a string quartet? Or perhaps you could be inspired to compose music to represent Bhangra. In her music, Jessie Montgomery often tried to blend styles of music together to create new and exciting fusions of music. Could this be the inspiration behind your quartet? In your groups, have a think about the styles of music you like. What are the musical characteristics of those styles? How could you translate those characteristics onto a string quartet? Can you blend some of those ideas together to create an interesting musical fusion? Now, let's have a look at some of the interesting ways Jessie Montgomery asks the musicians to play their instruments in this piece. First of all, let's have a listen to the very beginning. You'll notice that the musician is playing the viola by plucking the strings rather than using the bow. This is called pizzicato. There's also an instruction on the music to ask the musician to play in a guitar style with the viola bow in hand. The melody played by the viola gives the idea of a guitar being gently played. Can you compose some melodies to be played in this way in your piece? Next, one of the violins joins in, but instead of playing a melody, the violin strums chords. A chord is when two or more notes are sounded at the same time, like this. The violin is asked to strum the notes so they sound very quickly after one another, just like a guitar. This provides a different sound to the plucked melody we heard in the viola part. Shortly after this, the cello adds a different melody. The musician is asked to play the cello with the bow, therefore adding another new, interesting sound to the music. To create music, composers combine, mix and layer sounds like that previous example, and texture is the word we use to describe this overall sound. Jessie Montgomery creates interesting textures in strum by using the instruments in different ways and then combining and layering those sounds together. Perhaps this idea of creating interesting textures by using the instruments in different ways could be the inspiration for your piece. What sounds can you come up with? How would you combine and layer them? One final idea that I think you could draw inspiration from is the use of rhythm in this piece. Take a listen to this extract. Jessie Montgomery uses that rhythm a lot through the piece. It's not always played by the first violin, other instruments in the quartet get to play it too. For example, even though the pitches of the notes are different, the rhythm is the same. And when you have a repeated rhythmic passage in a piece of music like this, it's called an ostinato. Ostinatos can be a musical idea from which you're able to build an entire piece. I hope you've enjoyed learning more about strum. We're really looking forward to seeing what you compose.